We deserve to thrive.
This interconnectedness among humans on the planet is creating a global village where the barriers of national and international boundaries become less relevant and the world a smaller place. The road ahead may be fraught with difficulties, challenges, and struggles, but we must dare each other to be visionary, to be ambitious, to be leaders.
Good morning, everyone.
Hi, good morning.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. Welcome to the SDG Advocacy Programme Cohort 6 Masterclass section. My name is Chinenwa Nolue, and I will be excited to be your moderator for today's section. So before we get started, I want you to comment your name, the SDG that is most important to you, and where you're joining us from today via the YouTube comment section. I want to see your comments coming. Okay, all I'm seeing is good morning. Can you tell us your name and where you're joining us from? Okay, so I'm seeing quality education. I'm seeing Vincent Michael from Jos Plateau State. I'm seeing Rejoice, SDG 4, 5, and 8 from Nasarawa State. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so it's my pleasure to introduce our esteemed guest speaker, Adudeyin Jayesimi. Okay, so please pay attention while I read her biography. Okay, so sorry, please. Okay. Okay, so Adedoyin Jayesimi will be taking us on the topic the acts of effective communication and storytelling. Okay, here I have it. Adedoyin Jayesimi is a communication advisor, a corporate trainer, and the co-founder of the Comms Avenue, a Pan-African capacity building and networking platform for communication professionals with over 1,800 professionals from 35 African countries in its mission-driven community. With over 13 years of professional experience, Adedoyin is passionate about equipping African communication professional with the knowledge and the resources they need to drive impact-driven results and contribute to the positive development of African. Want you to, Adedoyin, you can take over.
Okay, can you hear me? Good morning.
Yes, we can hear you, ma.
Okay, I trust you're all doing well this morning. Thank you again for the invitation to share. I'm going to be sharing my screen. If at any point you can't hear me because of internet, just please type it in the chat. But just to be sure that everyone is here, if you could just please say hello in the chat. CAAP Ashiru. Okay, I've heard from Mayowa. I don't know who is behind the youth team. That's the host. Just to know that everybody's here and we're going on the journey. Of course, I've just heard Chineye's voice, but I'll just be pulling up my slides at the moment. Oh, okay. Host, can you please make me co-host so that I can share my screen? Sharing isn't turned on. I don't know if the host heard me. I need co-host sharing, right? Please. Okay. Hi, Chineye. Maybe I'll ask if you could please just nudge the host.
Okay, ma.
I just need to be made co-host so that I can share my slides. Okay, pending the time that happens, because I have a hard stop at 11, I'm just going to start and hopefully the host is able to give me co-host, right, so that I can share my screen. So the topic for today is on the art of effective communication and storytelling. And that's what I'm going to be talking to us about this morning. Okay, let's just see. Okay, this will be a bit, this is not a non-slide presentation, so I actually do need to take you through the slides for this to be effective. Chineye, is it that the host is not available? Or the host doesn't know how to make me a co-host because you are a co-host?
Okay, so ma, the person shortly.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Ma, I said the host will make you the co-host shortly.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, ma.
Chineo, I can't hear you. Your audio is off.
Okay, ma, so can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so I said while we wait for the host to make you the co-host, I'm talking to our audience. If they have any question for you, they should put it in the comment section so that after your section, we'll have time for question and answer. Then you can take the question. So if you have any question for her, please put it in the comment section. Thank you.
Okay, so while we wait for this to happen, so can a few of you tell me what exactly it is that you do with regards to the SDGs? Let's have a conversation, and hopefully we can do this presentation before it's 11. So does anybody want to share? What exactly do you do with regards to the SDGs? Do you have a project? Do you want me to run through the names and call? Let me see. Emmanuel, good morning, Emmanuel. Are you able to speak? Okay, Emmanuel's not unmuting. SDG, there's someone named SDG. If you're able to speak, are you able to share? Or why are you even passionate about the SDGs? Why are you here? What do you want to gain? I think that's what the question is. Or Maiwa, if you're able to share. Okay, nobody is unmuting. This is very interesting. Emmanuel, SDG, and any other person, can you please type to the chat, because I have a sense that people are not here and there's no point talking to people that are not here. It's not effective for anybody. So just indulge me and just let me know who is here. Right, okay. Okay. Do we want us to postpone this session? Because honestly, the most important thing for me is for everybody to get value. If there are issues, then if you have a lot of people, okay, where are they? Are you streaming on another platform? Okay. Okay. Right. Okay, I understand. So you're live streaming on YouTube. Okay. Is there a way I can see okay, no problem. Let me see. So that means if people are watching on YouTube, so that's being able to present my slides is very important. 350. Okay. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to speak through if you're able to sort out this co-hosting thing, and I hope it's valuable. So good morning again, everyone. Sorry for the delay. Technical issues always happens. Finally, to God be the glory. I can share. Okay, so let me do that right away, and then I hope that this would be as valuable as possible for you. Okay, can we confirm that you can see my screen? So I know that everyone can see it.
Yes, ma, we can.
Okay,
Can go on, ma.
fantastic. All right, so this is what I want to run through very, very quickly this morning. We're going to be looking at effective communication, characteristics of effective communication, how to be an effective communicator, communication strategies, and the art of storytelling. Because time has gone, I may not be able to cover everything, but I would touch on the most critical things that I need you to know. Now, I want you to think about, this is why I was asking the question, and I would have liked for this to have been a bit more interactive, but it's fine. But wherever you are now, I want you to think about, why are the SDGs important? Because for you to be able to communicate anything effectively, you need to understand what exactly is the message. What am I, quote and unquote, selling here? What am I trying to in people? Why is it important? If you are not clear about why it is important, it will be a bit difficult for you to articulate why your audience should care about it. There's a quote that says people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care about them. What is in it for me? Why should I care about poverty? Why should I care about zero hunger? I'm able to afford 3 square meals, for example. SDGs, oh, it seems like something that people in Europe or people overseas, they just created, and how does it affect me? So you have to think like that before you can then say, what exactly is the message that we want to pass across? I won't go too deep into that because I will share more as we go along. But I want you to think about, and I'm sure most of us have been in this situation where you wanted to communicate something and then you believe that you had communicated it, but what the person that you communicated to heard or understood was totally different from what you said. And you see that play out a lot on Twitter, which is now known as X. So somebody says something like, oh, I like apples. And somebody goes, are you saying that oranges are bad? And then you begin to think, how do we go from I like apples to oranges bad? And that's because we all receive messages from different filters of our upbringing, filters of our education, filters of our nationality, filters of even our mindset. And so understands, visualize that information for that audience. Okay, all right. If I'm seeing that my internet is unstable, if at any point you can't hear me, just put it in the chat so that I can swap. But what is effective communication before I dive deep into that? It's communication between 2 or more people where the intended message is successfully delivered. And this is the important part: successfully delivered, received, and understood. If I say to Chineye, this is what I need you to do, but Chineye has a different understanding of what I have said, I haven't properly communicated, because while I have delivered a message and while that message was received, it was misunderstood. So effective communication is an essential skill in every area of your life, whether it's personal, whether it's professional, whether it's in terms of business. And for what you are doing in this SDG network, it is absolutely critical because there is a call to action that you want people to take. So it's important that you communicate effectively. And I was people over this and just go into the characteristics of effective communication. Number 1, your message has to be clear. If your message is not clear, your audience is going to be so confused, and you have to break it down. One of the ways that I like to break down messaging is to say why and so what. Okay, hunger is an important issue for Nigerians. Why? Break it down again. It's important because famine is a real issue in XYZ. Why? Why should I care? So you must say why, until it is very, very clear and compelling. Your message has to be correct. Your message also has to be complete. You cannot just tell me something that is vague. You cannot tell me something that is a half-truth. It has to be complete. It has to be precise. It also has to be reliable, especially in this time of misinformation and disinformation. And you, in crafting your messaging, have to be that person that people know that if it's coming from this source, if it's coming from the SDG network, it is authentic, reliable, credible information, right? And then you have to think about the recipients. How are they going to receive this? Am I communicating this to, for example, in Market Woman, I've engaged in a project on climate change, and they had all their IEC materials, and that's advertising, just educating people about things, so flyers and all of that, and the messaging. And I said, look, the way a market woman is going to understand climate change is going to be very, very different from someone who is in secondary school, university, or is working. And it's not because she cannot understand the concept of climate change, but it's because you're communicating it in such a way that she cannot connect to what you are saying. But she's seeing the effects of climate change around her, but she cannot link those two things together. So what that means is that you have to break down this, high messaging on, air pollution, gas, all of those things, and tell her about the firewood, the ripple effects of that firewood that she's using, the ripple effects of those practices, those things that she can see, and then use those imagery to communicate climate change to her. It will stick better, it will resonate. And that's how you consider your audience when you communicate. And so these are just a breakdown of how do you become effective in communication. What do you want to communicate? Be very, very clear. Are we trying to inform people about the SDGs? Do we want to inform people about the state of hunger, poverty, education, whatever it is? Are we trying to persuade people? Are we trying to make people take these things seriously? So we want to ban single-use plastics, for example. Do we want to persuade people that this is the right thing to do and they shouldn't be using plastics anymore? Are we trying to motivate them? We want them to take a particular action. We want them to stop. So let's still stick with this single-use plastics. So I can't remember how many months ago it was that we then went to the supermarket and they're not saying, oh, you have to pay for your plastic bag or you have to bring your own. And Nigerians are not used to it. In fact, I can't remember what supermarket it was. There was a lot of chaos, right? We already know that these plastics are bad, but then there's behavior. People are used to it. And now you're not seeing people now deliberately taking tote bags, reusing their plastic bags because now they see, okay, this thing is a thing. So are we trying to motivate them? You have to be very sure because once you're sure on that, then you're able to say, how do we get people from point A to point B using communication and messaging? I really do hope that, you're following this wherever you are joining me from this morning. And then you need to know your audience. Who are they? Is it Gen Zs, millennials, women, men? And don't try to use broad categories because even if you say your audience, they're men, they can be men of a particular social class. They can be men, maybe men that work in the factory, maybe men that go to offices. You have to be very clear. Are they students? Are they secondary school students, university students? Really, really break it down. What is the level of their knowledge? What do they know about SDGs? The way you communicate to someone that already has knowledge of SDGs is very different for someone who has no clue about what you're talking about. It would be a big mistake for you to then lump all of them together and share with them the same messaging. What is their level of interest? Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you know that no matter how passionate you are about climate change, about zero hunger, about whatever it is, there's some people that really just don't care. Their own is, please, I just want to wake up. I want to take care of my family. I want to work and I want to mind my business. I don't know about this education, all of these things that you're talking about. What is their level of interest? Are you trying to convert somebody that has no interest to become interested in this thing? Or are you trying to convert someone that is just, it's just on the fence? Or is this person really, really interested in issues like this? And then what do they need? And how can this be tied to the SDGs? It is so important. If you want to effectively communicate, you need to help people situate themselves in what you're communicating. And if you think about advertising, that is what advertising actually does. You see something and immediately it's like a desire, oh, I need these gadgets. Oh, they tell you that this laptop, if you use this laptop, you are going to the speed, everything, and you see if you are in school, this laptop will help you excel, and immediately you just picture, I need this tool, I need this gadget, I need whatever it is that they're selling, because they have put you at the center and they have tied your need to that product. That's why advertising always wins and sells. So what exactly do they need? What exactly do they care about? Does the market woman really care about climate change in the intellectual sense of it? Maybe not, but she would care because she's probably seeing, if she has a farm, she's probably feeling the ripple effect, for example, ripple effect of flooding, ripple effect of the weather changes, all of those things. And so if you connect it with something that she already cares about, that is a pain point, she's more likely to listen. So you really have to know your audience very well. Where are you going to communicate? Is it in person? Are you going to use traditional media, which is newspaper, TV, radio? Are you going to use social or digital media? Are you going to use thought leadership? Thought leadership is you're writing opinion pieces, you're writing different things about the article. And why this is important is if this session was happening live, right? The way that I would approach this presentation would have been a bit different. I really like interaction. So you could see that I was trying to ask questions and all of that because I like feedback. I like to know that the people that I'm following or that I'm presenting to are following me. And so that helps you to say, okay, what will be the best way to engage? You have to work harder to engage people on a digital platform than you would if you could see them in person, where they can raise their hands, where they can speak to you. You can read their body language. Right now, I'm only seeing myself. I cannot read anybody's body language. So I have to bring the energy. All of those things you have to take into consideration while you want to communicate. Then the timing and the season, what exactly is happening right now is so important. I had a client a few weeks ago that wanted to communicate a particular news in Ghana. And then at the end of that week, or maybe it was in the middle of the week with the plane crash that happened in Accra or in Ghana, I can't remember which of the cities it happened. It happened. And I had to tell the client, abort mission, this is not a good time to push out this messaging. Why? Because a tragic incident has just happened in the country. The country is mourning. If you share this news, it's almost going to be like you are tone deaf. So pause and wait on it. And that's what you need to do. Is this a good time? What is happening in the context of the target audience I want to communicate with? What is happening in the context, for example, of the country or even the continent? Right? What exactly is this relevant at this time? And you think about it, even in our personal relationships, you think about your parents. There are times you know that this is not a good time to ask daddy for money. Do you understand? There are those times. So you have to be very, very sensitive. It's not that you asking for money from your dad is bad, but if your dad is angry, if something is happening, if you can see that, daddy is squeezing face, he's doing this, you know that dead on arrival, don't do it. And you wait for a better time. Same thing if you want to go and ask your boss for a raise, for example. How will you communicate? Are you going to use long form or short form text? Are you going to write a long article? Are you going to do infographics? Are you going to do video? Are you going to do audio? You can see where your audience comes to mind. So again, you cannot say you are going to go and do a sensitization project in a local community, a rural community, and then you're taking articles. Who is going to read it? Nobody. But you might take you can take flyers, for example, that would be in their language and not in English. So imagine you're going to somewhere in the East, a rural community, and then you take materials, handbills, and everything is in English, and they don't speak English there. It's a waste of your time. You have not done the work. So you really need to know, how will I communicate? And all of this, you always have to bear your target audience in mind. So here are some strategies that you can consider. What is the information flow? One of the things that I always tell when I'm training people on communication is write things down in bullet points. What do I want to say? Bullet point 1, bullet point 2, bullet point 3. You don't even have to write anything long. Just short bullet points that just give you a sense of direction and help you to refine. How do I want this information to flow? Okay, I want people to sign up for this. I want people to stop using plastic bags. How do I start? Do I want to start with a story? Do I want to start with facts and figures? Then what do I go to next? What do I go to next? And then how do I wrap it up? Spend some time thinking. Don't just talk. Don't just go and say, okay, I want to talk to you about SDGs. No, think about it. What do I want to say? What does this audience need? How will this audience receive this? Active listening is so important. Remember, communication is a two-way thing. So you really have to listen. Sometimes my plan when I came into this room, because I thought people were going to be on Zoom, was I really wanted to ask why SDGs are important to you, so that I can contextualize this information, so that it's very, very important, right? You need to be able to listen, get feedback. What exactly are the pain points? Sometimes if you ask people directly what their pain points are, they may not tell you, but if you give them room to just talk, what are your concerns right now? You would get things that would be useful for whatever it is that you want to communicate. Being able to document information information is so important. When you're listening, getting feedback, all of those things, have a way you document your information, because those are the things that will help you communicate better. Follow up. So you've told somebody about your project. You've told somebody about, oh, the importance of SDGs. They're like, oh, okay, great. I think I'm seeing, okay, I'm understanding it. And then that's it. We don't hear from you again. There's no follow-up newsletter, no follow-up email. You're not inviting them for something. They're going to forget, not especially in this social media age. It's the reason why you will hear a radio jingle over and over and over again, to the point that you can start singing it, even though you didn't really pay attention to it. It's because they need you to remember it, to constantly follow up. That's the materials you then create. Are you going to be creating blog posts? Am I going to be reading your monthly newsletters? Are you going to be inviting me for events? What exactly would you be doing? And then, of course, giving feedback. So I'm now going to segue into storytelling. And storytelling really is, how do you create an image in people's minds of what you're saying? And when I joined this session, there was a video that was playing. They were kind of telling the story of the journey of the SDGs, of how the world wants to eradicate poverty, hunger, all of those things. Now, you can come to someone and say something like, by 2030, 100,000 people from the Eastern Africa are going to be displaced. And they hear, I'm like, they feel sad, and then they go. But you can come at that person and tell a story and say, hi, I wanted to tell you a story of Binta. Binta is from the East African community. This is what happened to Bintas. And you tell that story and you're carrying them along, and they are picturing themselves in Binta's shoes. And you end with, this community is going to be displaced if we do not do something immediately. You tell them a story. Recently, the UN, they released something that people don't read reports. Who is going to read your 40-page report? Nobody. Well, let me say nobody. There are people that are geeked out that can read it. But the truth is, it's too technical. People just want bite-sized things that they can understand and connect with. So stories are a perfect way to connect with people. You remember stories so well. After this meeting, you're going to remember more likely the examples. You may not even remember everything that I've said, but you probably remember the examples, remember the stories that people tell us. And so it's an interactive way of stimulating people's minds. It enables two-way interaction. It builds a deep connection, and it builds on a narrative. With a story, I can stir up the emotions that I need to get you to do, the action that whether it's empathy, whether it's joy, whether I want to create a sense of community, whether I want you to buy in, or I'm trying to persuade you. I can use that story. I can use the examples of people that maybe a project has impacted, and I can paint a picture of what more can be done if you come on board and partner with me. And because you are seeing the real people, because you're seeing the real transformation, you're seeing the difference that is being made, you are more likely to say, I want to be a part of this story. And let me put a caveat there. This is not for you to tell what's is usually termed as the Oxfam story. That thing is very annoying. These people, they were in poverty, and then you see the child. It's not dignifying of the child, of the family. They're very poor. And I'm not saying that we don't have poverty in Africa. I'm not saying that all of these things don't exist, but we must remember that with every story we tell, we're pushing a narrative, and we have to remember the dignity of the people that we're communicating about. So instead of focusing on, hey, this person looks so miserable, this person, why don't we tell a story of their hopes and dreams? Why don't we focus more on the transformation journey? So it's less about where they are coming from, but where they are now as a result of the intervention or whatever it is that you've done, and where they can still get to. You would make reference to where they're coming from, because that is important. But that focus, and I know some of you know what I'm talking about, it just feeds into a narrative, and it's not, it doesn't honor the dignity of that person. Just thought to add that there. Stories have a higher chance of recall and resonance. It helps to build trust, and more especially, it can drive behavior change. You're likely to get people to change their behavior through stories, right? Through showing them adoption ways or ways that they can do something different. So if we go back to the example of the single-use plastics, and I want Nigerians to start using to stop using single-use plastics or start reusing their plastic bags, I can tell multiple stories at different touch points. And by touch points, I mean channels of communication. So through the radio, through the TV, when they go into the mall, I can tell them, how to take good care of the current plastic bags that they use to be able to reuse it so many times. I can tell them about alternatives to plastic bags, right? I can create a story around that. I can create a narrative. So it becomes exciting. It becomes cool to use some of these other alternative options that makes them stop using plastic bags or styrofoam and all of that. You can actually use stories to change people's behavior. Storytelling is both a science and an art. Usually people ask me, oh, Adedoyin, all of these things that you said is so fantastic, but I'm not a storyteller. Everybody can tell a story because do you know what? When you are gisting with your friend, you tell stories. So it's just for you to sit down, remember what I had said before. What exactly do I want to say? What exactly do I want to communicate? And is there a story that I can use to bring this to life? The story may be a personal story. The story may be a story of somebody that you know, but you can use those examples to almost like buttress your point and bring it to life for the people. And so in thinking about your story, you have to ask yourself, what do you want people, what do I want people to remember about the SDGs? If it's good health and well-being, what are we saying here? What do we need them to know about quality education, about gender equality? Why should people really care, right? What exactly do we want them to know? Are we trying to show them that, if we stay on gender equality, that when you empower a woman, when you create equal access for a woman, you're not just enabling that woman, you're enabling a generation. Can I give a tangible story to show how this comes to life? And I'll give you an example of how I saw that practically come to life. So there was a client of mine a few years ago, a microfinance bank. They give microloans. At the time, it was about 10K, 20K. And this project was a very humbling project for me. And my assignment was to go around different centers they had around Lagos to capture the stories of the women who had been beneficiaries of those microloans and to document what they had done with it in celebration of their 30th anniversary. And so we went around different states. And what was so fascinating for me is going there and just listening to the women talk about what they did with 20,000 naira, how 20,000 naira made a difference, not just for their families, their businesses. They sent their children to school. They were able to build. In fact, it was so fantastic. One particular woman that I remember in Ogun State, bag making, very simple bags, ladies and gentlemen. And we went to her house and, the joy in her heart talking to us about her bag. And she also taught her daughter, and her daughter is using that to sustain herself in school. You could see the pride in her husband's eyes, displaying. It was very humble setting, but you could just see the reality of what 20,000 naira could do. And we had that opportunity to tell the story. So when we finished the documentary, we also had a photo book. There's no way we'll give that thing to someone, they won't see the transformative effect of 20,000 naira, whether it's a woman in the market in Baggy or somebody in Plateau State, right? That's the power of stories. So how do you master the art of storytelling? Again, really know what exactly is your objective. What are we trying to say here? What do we want people? You're not telling story for telling story's sake. You're telling stories purposefully. You're telling stories because you're trying to get buy-in, whether you're trying to get the buy-in of a donor, a funder, of a recipient, whatever it is, or partnerships. What exactly is this all about? Listen to your audience. Think about your audience and their motives all the time. The motive of a donor is very, very different, right? The donor wants to say that, okay, your project is credible, you are credible, this is making a difference. Why should I care and why should I be part of it? So you really have to think about who is this audience and what exactly do they need. Most importantly for me as well is be authentic. We don't communicate the same way. If I ask everybody to speak, you all sound different. You sound different from the way I sound. So don't try to tell a story in the way you see people tell stories. Make sure it is authentic to you. If you haven't been telling stories, it will take a while to find yourself, right? Or find your your storytelling power, quote and unquote, but play around with it. But don't feel like, oh, it has to be this certain way. These things can be learned. This is why I said it's a science and an art. My job involves me teaching people to communicate, teaching people to engage with stories, and it can be learned. But it takes you being able to say, what are the stories? What are the examples? And then how do I deliver this story in a way that is authentic? For some people, they can tell a story now and everybody is laughing. If you are not the one that cracks jokes that people will laugh at, please don't now say by force now, I must crack a joke so that people can laugh. And then you crack your joke and everybody's like, what? So please be very, very authentic. People connect with people. Be consistent. Tell a consistent story across your touch points. So if I come to your website, it is a consistent story that I'm seeing on your social media. No, I should not be saying on your website, okay, you are saying we are doing gender equality. Then I go to your social media, I'm saying, okay, poverty. Then I go to another platform. I may be confused. Are you doing all the SDGs or you're doing one? So you need to be consistent. And the overall experience matters. Align your message with what your audience experiences is so, so important. And I think a point that I didn't put here is have fun with storytelling, right? Have fun with communication. For some of you, it may be a bit daunting, especially those of you that are scared of public speaking. And I don't have enough time to give you tips on how to overcome public speaking fear, but I want you to know that you can practice it. Anybody can communicate effectively. I have seen it in the course of my work. I've been doing this work for over 13 years, and I have seen people, the shyest people, the most socially awkward people, become effective communicators. And if they can do it, you can do it. Yes, that's me being aspire to perspire. But yes, just some closing words. Good preparation precedes any effective communication. Look, anybody that you see that is communicating, and you're like, wow, I really like how this person communicates. They just flow. Is a lie. They have practiced. I'm able to speak like this because I've been doing this over time. And if you think about any skill that anybody has to master, that consistency, doing it over and over and over again. Those of you that drive, if you think about the first time you started driving till now it's like, okay, you can just do it. It's you don't use head knowledge anymore. You just do it. So you have to practice. A tip I can give you: practice in front of mirror. Record yourself and listen. Effective communication does not just happen by chance. It happens through practice and preparation. Preparation brings confidence. If you feel like, if I see people on the stage, my heart will just be cutting, be doing giz. Prepare, psych yourself up, get comfortable. And if you're really one of those people that you're like, oh, I can't stand in front of a crowd, start with low pressure things, maybe church, in settings that it's not high stakes. You're not speaking before like 100 people. Start with 10 people, get comfortable, and then it gets bigger and bigger. I remember the first time that I spoke to a crowd of 1,000 people. This was in 2018. So when I'd received the invitation, it was, oh, come and do a masterclass. And it was meant to be for a few people, about maybe 40, 50. I was like, okay, that's doable. I'm good with that. And another thing I should add to contextualize this story that I'm telling you is that I just didn't like speaking in front of people. I had been the behind the scenes girl. I love being behind the scenes. I thrive behind the scenes. So putting me in front of people, I didn't like it. But I started speaking and I was already, doing the work that I do. And, when the invitation came, I was like, okay, sure, 50 people, that's all. And then maybe like a week towards the event, I said, oh, sorry, we had a change of plans. Your session has been assigned, but you're going to speak the day before to, our entrepreneurs flying in from different countries. I said, okay. Didn't tell me how many people it was. And then, I get there that day, and because me, I like getting to places early. I get there early and I see the hall. I'm like, okay, this is definitely way more than 50 people. And then the people start coming and I had to go to the toilet. And when you start breathing in a bag, I was hyperventilating. I was like, and then I pray. I was like, Holy Spirit, please help me, because my heart was really pounding. I sat on the chair, I looked at the crowd, and I didn't go with anybody that will gas me up and just, how you have friends that will just put you in that, give you that pep talk. I was just there really nervous. People were around my table, they were just, gisting and trying to make small talk. But in my head, I was like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? And then they called me up And then as I was walking to the stage, I was saying, God, I beg, I cannot fall down. I cannot fall down in front of these people. But I got on the stage. Thankfully, I didn't fall down. But I got on that stage, and then there was this floodlight that was directly in front of me. And if you've ever stayed in front of a floodlight before, you cannot see anything. It's like everyone is like a mirage. And so that's what happened. It kind of blurred out. See, I did not move. I'm not even kidding you. I still have pictures from that event. I stayed at that spot. Even if I thought I moved, I still put my eyes so that I couldn't see anybody. That was how I got through it. But this was years ago. I'm much better again through practice, preparation, taking feedback, learning, and improving myself. Be deliberate about improving your communication skills. No matter where you are in terms of your ability in communications, you can always get better. You can improve. Find a story, tell a story, connect with a good story. If this is work that you do, you're passionate about gender equality, have your story bank. Other stories from the work that you're doing, stories that you encounter that you feel like this can be a compelling case for what I do. And don't be afraid of feedback. It helps you to grow and it helps you to soar. So to wrap up, I just want to share this quote by Tony Robbins. To effectively communicate, we must realize that we're all different in the way we perceive the world and use this as a guide when you communicate with other people. Thank you very much. So if you have questions, I can take them now. So I'll hand over to Chineye. I'm handing over to you.
Okay, Ma, thank you very much for the section. It was very, 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 very interesting and informative. Thank you for all the effort put into your presentation. Okay, so if you have any question, please can you drop it in the comment section? I'll be going to the comment section to read questions. So if you have any question, just read it. Okay, I have a question here from Sonia. When you know what you want to say and you have prepared, no one will knock you off. Okay, no, that's not a question. It's a comment. I can't say any question, ma. Seems like okay. I'm seeing compliment. Thank you, ma. Thank you so much, ma. I'm saying thank you for the insightful section. Your story is so inspiring. Okay. I have not seen any question mark. So, okay, all I'm seeing is appreciation mark. Thank you, mark. That's what I'm seeing. Okay, I can see one question. Okay, from George Igwe. Might you have one question? Okay, so the question is, how is storytelling a science and a art?
Okay, so storytelling is a science because it follows. So let's take a movie that you like, right? There is the beginning. The beginning, the story is, maybe let's use Cinderella. Let's use the story arc of Cinderella. This person, she's coming from this situation where she's oppressed, she's down and out. And then you get to the point where, oh, she meets the prince, she's about to get a breakthrough, something happens, and then you get to happily ever after. There are a lot of movies and series that go through that. So someone starts down, then things go, something happens in the middle, and then, happily ever after. For those of you that watch Hallmark movies like me, you start with this person, they're in one town, they go somewhere, they fall in love with someone, right at the peak of their love, something then happens, but then it ends up happily ever after. You also have the reverse. So you have like action movies, right? So you see this person goes up as a normal person, and then there's a villain that comes into the situation, but the thing is resolved. So that's the science of it. It's a plot. So it takes you on a journey. So the journey can start low, there's a peak, and then it is resolved. Very few movies leave you hanging. that there's no resolution or it ends disastrous, that those are plots as well. So that's where the science is. So you have to now say, what exactly is the story flow? Am I going to tell a happy ending story? Am I telling? And so the typical non-profit development story is, oh, this person, they were born in this low-income community, they had this illness, they lost their parents, they suffered and all, and then steps in the NGO, they met someone from the NGO, that NGO transformed their lives, and now they're on their way to school. So do we see where that science is? There is actually a frame behind that. Now, where the art is creativity. There's creativity in how you tell the story. There's creativity in the bits and bobs that you put, the subplots. So think again about a movie that you like. Oh, there's a subplot of these two characters. They have something going on the side, or this, this character or this, storyline. This is how I want to tell it. So if you watch Harry Potter, it's very different from Game of Thrones or Lord of the Rings, for example. So that's where the creativity, the art is coming. So I hope that answers your question.
Okay, thank you very much, Ma. You have more questions now. Okay, we'll take more questions. Let me read this one out for you, Ma. Okay, so from Omomi, she has a question. She said, I have a question, Ma. Let's say I'm trying to sensitize students in secondary school about the SDGs. What do you think would be the most effective way to teach them considering their demographic?
I like that question. And for secondary school students, you have to do it in such a way that you interest them in that SDG that you want to tell them about. And you have to do it in visuals. It can't just be, textbook things. Try and make it creative, make it engaging. Do we do this as a play? Do you watch a video? You have to be very, very creative, something that helps them to really, really see that this thing is important, but it's not just going to be textbook thing. Textbook is boring. How do you bring it to life? How do you dramatize it? How do you give them example? Do you even want to do field trips for them so that they can really understand and contextualize some of these things? Gamification, for example, right now, I don't know what area the secondary school students are, but gamification, that's how do you use games? That's a way that people are educating and informing the next generation using games, educative games. You may want to do that as well because they're playing the games, but the games is giving them the themes and the recurring things that you want to stick in their minds. So those are some of the things that I suggest for you.
Okay, Ma, thank you. Then the next question is from Balogu. Okay, his question is, what is the difference between misinformation, disinformation, and misconception?
Okay, so misinformation is somebody passes an information that's it's not accurate. The facts are wrong, but they do not know that it's wrong. So it's not a complete truth. It sounds like it is a truth, but it is not. So the one that comes to my mind is how people say, oh, the Bible says heaven helps those who help themselves. It's not true. But a lot of people say that thing. That is information, misinformation rather. But disinformation is that the purpose of this thing deliberately, they want to give you false information. They deliberately want to mislead you. So that's the difference with misinformation and disinformation. Misconception is from the recipients. So I misunderstood what it is that this concept or this thing is about. Oh, you said to me, young people are doing X, Y, Z. I then generalize and say all Gen Zs are behaving in a certain way because some people have told me bad experiences they've had with Gen Zs. That is a misconception. So I hope that, clarifies that question for you.
Okay, Ma, thank you. So we'll take two more questions now. The next question is from Emmanuel. He's asking, okay, how do I get out of fear and effective communication?
How do you get out of what, sorry?
How do I get out of fear for an effective communication?
You have to work on yourself. You have to understand why you're afraid, right? And then you have to practice. Sometimes, as Nike said, just do it. Sometimes just doing it is what helps you to overcome your fear. So again, like I gave the example, start with low pressure situations. Start speaking in front of family, friends, people that you feel safe around, and then you have to be able to take those baby steps of fear. A lot of the great storytellers and communicators that you see, it's not that they're not afraid. I told you of my own story. My heart was pounding, but I delivered effectively that day to the glory of God. So you have to still do it afraid. If this is important to you, you've just got to do it. And then practice in front of the mirror. You might decide to get a coach. If for some people do get a coach, but you have to overcome, you have to take action. So you can't just say, I'm afraid, I'm afraid, I'm afraid. You've got to do something about it. Yeah. Chineye, are you taking one more?
Okay, ma. Okay, the last question, ma. Okay, so the question is, how do I get that? Okay, okay. So the question is from Outlook. That's the name of the person. Stonic Outlook. If you were leading a campaign for one SDG, what communication tools, social media, community meetings, storytelling, and data visualization would you prioritize and why?
So that's a very broad question that I can't answer because remember, I told you things like that are very, very contextual. Who am I communicating to? Where am I communicating it to? Am I communicating it to people at the grassroots level? Am I communicating to people that are more educated? Those are the things that would help me to know what to prioritize. How much budget do I have? Do I have money for data visualization tools? What will work faster? What will convert faster? What are the call to actions or the outcomes that it is that I want to see? So I cannot give you a blanket answer. And that's what you must understand about communication. It's not a one size fits all thing. Oh, this thing worked for project X, so I must do exactly the same thing that project X did, but your project has a different context. So you must always pay attention to your context. So if you contextualize that question a bit more, I may be able to give you direct answers, but there's so many variables that I cannot just give you a broad answer. Chineye, I'm done.
Okay, ma, thank you very much, ma. I want to say a very big thank you for the section. It was really, really, really impactful. Thank you for your time, effort to prepare and deliver such a valuable section. Our comment section is full of appreciation from our audience. They are saying very big thank you to you for this section. It was really, really wonderful. Thank you very much, ma.
You're welcome. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, so we'll be moving on to the next section. Okay, so I want to introduce our second speaker. So please join me to introduce the second speaker for today's section in the person of Ade Tomisin Abiola. Okay, she's a senior Program Officer at a non-profit and technical support organization dedicated to expanding SDG access to essential health technologies. And she brings over 8 years of transformative leadership experience. She's not just building progress, she's building leadership, and she has a Master of Public Health degree from the University of Ibadan. Tomisin has mentored over 150 emerging leaders, proving that leadership is not about age, but about vision, courage, and the determination to lift others as you climb. Through more than 30 advocacy programs focused on women empowerment and peace building, she has demonstrated that sustainable change happens when communities are equipped, empowered, and inspired. Her journey is a living proof that one person armed with knowledge, driven by purpose, and committed to others can indeed change the world. One leader, one program, one life at a time. So please join me to welcome Tomisin Abiola.
Hello, good morning. Can we hear
Good
me?
morning, ma.
Good.
Yeah, we can hear, ma.
Can you hear me? Can you see me? I don't know if it's the network. Thank you. Thank you. Please, I need to know that you can hear me.
Yes, ma, we can hear you very well.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. And I'm honored to be here. So thank you very much. Without wasting much time, because I know that we are time sensitive. Thank you for the invite and thank you for the introduction. This morning, I've been asked to talk about transformational leadership. Is it okay if I share my screen? Mhm. Can we see my screen, please?
No, ma, we can't see your screen.
Oh, okay, just a minute.
Okay.
Now?
Yes.
Okay. So, I'm sorry, let me put it on slideshow. Okay. Sorry, I love colors, so you might be seeing a lot of colors. So I want to talk about transformational leadership, and I will try as much as possible to make it engaging as much as possible. But one thing I also want to know, let us know that there is nothing new. There's nothing you've not heard before. There's no new concept. Rather, what we have is modifying concept, modifying information. There's always a starting point. So I want you to be open to this presentation. And I also want you to be open to learning. Because even myself, as much as I've prepared this slide, I know that there's always something to learn. And I'm happy to be here to engage in this masterclass. So, of course, our topic is on transformational leadership, building exceptional young leaders to champion the SDGs. So you'll be seeing, I use the SDGs as my numbering. So you might see an SDG number 1 as the numbering. So it's just for something for us to be able to remember what these SDGs are. so that we don't even go off course. So what are we expecting to learn today? Like, why am I here by 11 o'clock? What am I expecting to learn? You will learn what transformational leadership is, and you'll be able to distinguish it from other leadership styles. You'll also be able to identify the 4 core components of transformational leadership and apply these leadership principles to SDG implementation, and also develop a personal action plan. So by the end of this, within an hour, we should be able to achieve this, because if we do not have an objective, if we do not have a goal, what we want to learn, there's really no point going about this 1 hour. So I'll try as much as possible to make it interesting. Please, I want to encourage you to also engage, right? Thank you very much. So generally, leadership. What is leadership? Leadership is the ability to influence, motivate, and enable others to contribute towards. Sorry, I'm actually, let me put my phone on silence. I'm actually using my work hard time. I just said to quickly do this. Please, apologies, please. Okay. All right. Leadership is the ability to influence, motivate, and enable others to contribute toward the effectiveness and success of organization and causes they serve. Generally, everybody will say you're a leader, I'm a leader. What makes leadership? But the key point is that you are able to influence, you are able to motivate, and you are able to let others contribute to it, meaning that there is a we factor, not just I factor. And something to also remember is that everybody is a leader. Leaders are not born. Some people say, he's a born leader. No, you actually can cultivate it. But one problem we do have, let me say, in this climb in the African continent, is that the kind of leadership we have in terms of when we're growing up, it's usually kind of autocratic. Our parents wanting us to behave in a particular way. And that way, even when you know that there are some things, there are some decisions you can take. But when you hear your opinion, most times they say, no, don't do this. This is how you should do it. And gradually, we lose that ability. We lose the leadership skill we have because we don't want to be shunned when we speak. So I'm just trying to correct that notion. Sometimes people say leaders are born. Everybody is actually a leader. Everybody has a leadership skill in them. But due to where we find ourselves, we've been told to shut up, and we start losing some of these skills that we were born with, that we have innately. So the next point, what's going on? So I would ask, who is a leader? Can we put this link on the chat? I don't know. I need assistance. Let me see if I can do it myself. Okay. All right. I have 30 minutes. Oh, okay. Don't worry. I will try as much as possible to make this fast. But can we still hear me? I need to know that you can hear me. I don't want to just... Okay. Just a minute, please. Sorry, I'm used to using Microsoft Teams. Sorry. Let me stop share and share again. Is that okay? Okay. If I have 30 minutes, then I'll rush through it. Can we? I've posted something on the... Okay, it's all right. Thank you. I've posted something on the group chats. Can we engage if possible? If not, I will just go on to my next point. if you can engage me, or if you can engage the conversation, we're talking about leadership. Who is a leader? Who is a leader? What makes a leader a leader? What makes the difference? What makes you special? Oh my word. Okay. Who is a leader? So many distractions here. A leader is someone who guides, influences, and inspires others. If you look at the picture I have here, you see the person standing out in the midst of people. That's why I said everybody is actually a leader. We have a leader in us, but what you do with your leadership makes the difference. And what defines a leader is not about the title. You know, when I was asked to come on this mentorship program just for this presentation, I was asked that, okay, what's my bio? And I realized that I've worn so many caps that I just can't remember what I can't place where you want me to be, because I've served in different capacities. And one thing I want us to know, that a leader is not about the title. It's not about the title. It's not about I am the lead, I am the director, I am the senior, I am the CEO. No, a leader is not about having title. You must be able to inspire others. You must be able to guide. And if you are on this program, especially for the SDGs, it is time to roll up your sleeves. It is time to say, yes, I am ready to work. Not just because I want to affiliate with this organization or this program, but you must be ready to guide. You must be ready to influence. And that's why for everything you do, you must know that people are watching. And something to, since I have 30 minutes to speak, I would show us a video, and I hope that will help me to also speak faster and get to the point I'm trying to make in 30 minutes. I was actually told I had 15 minutes, but now we have to learn to be flexible. That's one of the skills you need to have where you are leading. But in this context, I'm not leading, but I'm just driving the conversation. So let me share a video with us. And I want, when you watch that video, I want you to think within and see what's part of leadership, what came out, what stood out for you in that video. Okay, so while that video is coming on, I want us to think in words. What part of leadership am I exuding? What is it that makes me different? What makes me unique? Why will people say, okay, this is the person I want to be like, this is what I want to do, I want to engage, I want to be known. I want to be known for this, right? Please, just a minute. I'm trying to bring up the video. Or I could also share here. Okay, I found it. We had everything readily available. Just, okay, share. All right, can we see my screen? Please, I need to be engaging. I need us to say you can hear me. Okay. Can we see? Is it coming up?
सर आपके लिए उस प्रकार का इंतजाम किया है सर आइए सर
Yes. I don't know if you're asking me. Just watch. Just watch. They are speaking a language you might not even understand. Thank you very much. Please, if you watch that video and you could say, could you signify or speak if you can, or chat? That way I know that I'm carrying everybody along. Thank you very much. So if you look at that video, anytime I watch that video, it gets me personally emotional, and I am geared to lead. I'm geared to say, even if I'm not in position of authority, anywhere I find myself, I need to show that I am a leader. I shouldn't be found in a place that there's ruckus, there is disorderliness, there is no vision, there is no direction. In that video, we could see that the young boy, they were hello. Wow, a lot of hiccups, and I apologize for that. But can we hear me now? Okay, if you can hear me. We're talking about leadership, and so many challenges will come up, but you need to be able to rise above it all and know that you've got this, right? So as much as this plan is not what I've expected, but different things are happening. As a leader, you have to put your head up high and know that you can do this and you will achieve it. Now, talking about transformational leadership, before we go into transformational leadership, I want us to know that there are different types of leadership. And from the beginning of my conversation, I said something. I said, most times we actually some of our families, we are kind of autocratic. And that way we tend to lose the skill sets that we have just because we've been asked to keep quiet or to not do anything. Autocratic leaders, they make decisions unilaterally with little input from team members. But because of our goal, we want people to be able to be a part of this SDG. We want to be people to be able to be part of the problem solvers. We cannot afford to be autocratic. You cannot afford to have strict control. However, there are moments when these skills, these leadership styles are required. But for the sake of this SDG, we are focusing on transformational. We also have participative leadership style. It involves team members making decisions. And I believe for the leadership of this organization who have put this all together, you sat down together to draw a plan, to say this is how you want it to be. I believe that must have come into play here. Another thing to consider is laissez-faire. For laissez-faire, leaders provide minimal direction, allowing team members to make decisions. This style of leadership is usually used by people in let's say executive suite, whereby they trust that you are able to make decisions yourself. You can lead yourself. You are a self leader. I don't know if you've heard of the term self leadership. Most times the style in laissez-faire is usually for people who can self-lead themselves. Then transactional, this is quite straightforward. It says that you transact. Give me your service, I pay you, do this for me, and I do this for you. There's a form of exchange. But transformational leaders, as a transformational leader, you inspire and you motivate through vision, meaning that even for the SDG, for this organization to come to play, to be in, there is a vision, there is a desired outcome you want to see while solving a problem. As a leader, you must be able to see, focusing on developing followers and encouraging innovation. This is where we are, and that's why we are focusing on transformation leader. There is also servant leadership. Servant leadership, a typical example of a servant leader is Mahatma Gandhi. We have those who served, that even people can say, yes, this is a servant leader. And this is a style that even transformational leaders should have. And situational leadership style, that is, you are able to have a flow of different leadership skills, different leadership style in you. Even though as you are leading others, you must be fluid. You must be able to say, okay, in this context, this leadership style fits for this. So while not wasting time about that, but you have an idea of different leadership styles we have. Honestly, just like I said, there's nothing new. But if we look inward, you're able to find out, okay, where am I in this spectrum? Transformative leaders, just going deeper, leaders have the ability to inspire. The word inspire is very, very germane to this conversation. It's very germane. Leaders have the ability to inspire and motivate followers to exceed their own self-interest, meaning that for every being, there is a part of selfishness in us. But you must be able to grow beyond this. You must be able to grow if there is a consensus to do something and it doesn't favor you. As a leader, you must see, okay, does this favor the mass? Even if it doesn't really favor you, you must be selfless. You must see and think beyond your own self-interest for the good of the cause. You're on this masterclass because the leadership of this organization wants you to be able to see yourself as a leader that can transform, that can inspire, that can have intellectual stimulation and say, yes, something is wrong and I must solve the problem. I must make a change. I must do something different. And that's why I say, why does this transformational leadership matter? We are in a world that is complex already, and there's need. There's an urgency for global challenges. There's an urgency that requires leaders who can inspire others to stand up and say, yes, we can make a difference. Something for everyone of us listening at this very moment to notice that one way or the other, you are contributing to the SDG. In case you don't know, if you look at the SDGs, if you've been following right from my presentation number 1, number 2, right now, even on number 6, we're on clean water and sanitation. One way or the other, your business, your organizational goal serves an SDG. For example, personally, I've been in the health space. Of course, look, my SDG has been about giving good health and well-being, one way or the other. But guess what? It wasn't standing alone. My focus, trying to make things better, trying to engage others, did not stop at that SDG number 3. It has a mix of other SDGs in it. So if you're saying, how can I contribute? Trust me, one way or the other, you're already contributing. But we just needed to move a step further and say, okay, I'm ready to tackle this forefront, this differently. Now, just like I said there is a leader in every one of us. But moving a step further, coming forward to transformational leadership, this 7, it's not limited. Characteristics of a transformational leader is not limited to this 7, but I just felt this 7 are something that we can start with. You have to be open to creative thinking. You have to be open to creative thinking. If you are going to lead, if you're going to inspire others, you must not be fixated on negativity, that it is not possible, there are problems, that you always looking at being pessimist, always being a pessimist, always being pessimistic. No, you must be open to creative thinking. Let people share their ideas and be open to listen and say, okay, I want to be a part of this. Let's try this means. Another thing is you must have a talent for broadening minds, meaning that even you as a vision bearer, you see it, but you need people to see what you're trying to let them see. You must have the talent to open people's horizon, people's mindset to change. And for that to happen, you need to respect people's opinion and at the same time, encourage them to see what you're trying to let them see. People naturally fight changes. Not everybody is good with change. If you're used to doing something a certain way, if people are used to doing things a certain way, and you bring about a different way of approach, naturally people will fight off and they will say, no, I don't want to go through that route. But you must have a talent to open their minds to see the possibilities of other alternatives. You must commit to active listening. Active listening here means that you are able to communicate, and people talk and respond to you passively and actively, verbally and non-verbally. Sometimes people are telling you, yes, we can do it. But when it is time to come together to do something, you realize that they are not actively involved. And then you are able to read into actions and words. You must be able to commit to that. Number 4, you must be willing to tolerate intelligent risk. And what do I mean by this? It means that you are able to say, okay, people bring ideas to you. As much as that has not been tried before, you need to be able to calculate the risks. Look at it. Okay, what can I do how can I support this? Okay, what's the risk quotient? What's the risk involved in this? What's the percentage? What's the loss? What's the profit? What's the benefit? You must look at, does the benefit outweighs the loss? Looking at it, you must be willing. They must be willing to tolerate that, even when you don't excel in that particular thing. So many times we are used to our safe space that we don't want to make mistakes, but we must be willing to tolerate intelligent risk and accept responsibility. Sometimes projects fail. Sometimes projects excel. Accept the responsibility. Do not let it be that you are that kind of leader that won't take responsibility for your actions. Remember that people are trusting you to make decisions. Remember that people are trusting you to nod a yes to their decisions, to their propositions, even if it doesn't go or scale through. You must be able to say, yes, I know I made this decision, but we're learning from it and we will do better. So, and trusting your team members. Yes, you need to be able to trust in your team members, and you have the ability to inspire participation. Not limited to this, but please put this to heart that where you are right now, do you have any of these characteristics? Now, going forward, one key thing, I'm trying to rush up now because it's 30 minutes and I really want to be time conscious. So idealized, one of the 4 I's of transformational leadership. See, if you take anything from this presentation, let it be that you put these 4 things at heart. Idealized influence, meaning that you have to be a leader who leads by example. You have to hold yourself in high esteem, that you cannot be found wanting. Please let me also correct what I mean here. What I mean is leaders cannot show that they do not have weakness. The moment you show that you are infallible, you're already setting a standard of excellence. Like nobody can make mistakes. You need to know that in this idealized influence, leaders become role models that followers want to emulate. Show that you are able to hold yourself accountable, remembering the characteristics, and people see that, oh yes, our leader shows that he's ready to listen to us, he makes mistakes, he accepts his responsibilities, and he listens to us. You must hold yourself in high esteem and high accountability. Another thing is inspirational motivation. You must be able to create and communicate compelling visions. As champions for the SDGs, this inspirational motivational aspect is something you cannot do without. You must be able to create that communication and share your vision. What is it that you want to do? If you need to have a team, there is something you need to tell them that will make them to say, okay, you know what, we want to work with you on this. You must have the skill of inspirational motivation. You must be able to express it that people will say, yes, you know what you're doing, even though they cannot see the whole picture. You see the whole picture and you must be able to communicate it. That's why you must have a vision. Don't just say, I want to do this. No. Let me give okay, let me just say this so that when we move to the next slide, I will be able to share that story. The third one is intellectual stimulation. Leaders challenge assumptions and encourage creative problem solving. You see, this third point is where sometimes we get stuck. Sometimes we are so used to doing things a particular way because we met it that way, we want to continue that way. No, if you see that a problem is not being solved, you have every right, you have every capacity to look into the root cause of that problem and challenge the assumptions. I don't know, while growing up, maybe they ever told you, don't do this. And you actually find yourself just doing that thing, but you never really know why you are doing that thing. If there's a problem and it persists and you feel that something is wrong, be ready to challenge the status quo so that you can move forward. I have a story to share regarding this, but because of time, I do not know if I have that liberty, but I'll find a way to slot it in while we go on. And the fourth one, Leaders, you must act as mentors and coaches to individual followers. I'm using the word followers, but here for me, generally, I just use a team. You must be able to mentor your team. They must look up to you and be able to say, yes, leader is what emulated. So these 4 I's is something that needs to be a part of you. Do not just be a leader do not be the basic leader. A transformational leader is like a leader extraordinaire, right? You are extraordinary in your way of dealing with things. And just a bit more information, the characteristics that that follows having an idealized influence, that is putting yourself in a position where people can trust, people can work with. You must make ethical decisions even when it is difficult. Remember, I said earlier that even when decisions are not easy, even when it doesn't favor you but it favors the majority, please ensure that you are that kind of leader that people will say, no, we know our leader, regardless of anything, it will make the right choice. The characteristics is that you're able to walk the talk consistently, not just saying, there are some leaders that will say, we want to do this, we have to achieve this, but they will leave the work to their team, whereas they're not walking the talk with the team. They want the team to make the mistake so that when the mistake happens, they remove themselves from the situation and say, well, you guys did it. No, you want to be a part of a team. You want to walk the talk. You put the mission and the team before personal gain. I've said this earlier. And you display that self-assurance without arrogance. Yes, people might sometimes misconstrue your assurance, your confidence for arrogance, although it's not always that way. But remember that you are influencing even when you're not speaking. For inspirational motivation, paint a picture of a better future. Have a vision and be ready to paint it. Have emotional connection with others. This skill, emotional intelligence, is something you need to have. Know when your team members have a problem, know when they're happy, know what makes them tick, know their skills, you just need to be involved as a transformational leader. Trust me, I've come to realize that leadership is not really about the things you do. It is things you do not do that makes people walk up to you and say, I want to be like you. I want to move in accordance to your vision. You maintain hope even in challenges. Yes, this can be difficult. I need to be open with us. It can be difficult, but you need to be able to say, no, I would stand for what is right and we will do this together. The next thing is intellectual stimulation. Why do we do it this way? You must ask that question. Ask that question. Why do we do it this way? Look at challenges. For example, a typical example, when I was creating this slide, I was like, oh, won't my presentation be too colorful? Why? I'm like, no, I don't have to follow how it's done because I know colors are good. It helps you to we learn when we see different colors, when we see different things. And I'm like, no, I don't have to follow the status quo of doing things the same way. So these are ways you need to say, okay, how does this help my team? Look at challenges from new angles. Look at it from different perspectives. So many times we don't have it, but that's why you have to be collaborative. You have to be able to speak with the team, engage, let them be participatory in your decision making. Remember, we looked at different types of leadership, and we looked at situational whereby you bring different leadership style into thank you, Ashiru. I like that. That means I'm communicating. You bring different leadership style into different contexts. Encourage experimentation. Yes, just like I said, you need to weigh the options. Okay, if we do it this way, what will it cost us? Okay, can we bear it? Can we not bear it? Look at that and create safe spaces for new ideas. Trust me, we are banks of ideas. As individuals, as many of you that are watching or listening right now, there's so many ideas in you. But if you do not work with a leader that is ready to listen to your idea, we tend to have this idea block. We tend to start doubting ourselves and say that, okay, I'm not sure of what I want to say. No, you need your team members to be able to say, leader Ashiru, this is what I think. Is it doable? Is it doable? You need to, the moment, look into your team, the moment you observe that people don't share their ideas easily, or you notice that there's a kind of a fidgeting, something is wrong somewhere, and you need to correct that. Another one is individualized consideration. You need to be able to hear and understand others. You need to be able to delegate work opportunities. You don't want to do all these things by yourself. Leaders, transformational leaders don't do things by yourself. Actually, transformational leaders equip others to do things that they will naturally do, but they choose to let others work. Right? I'm able to share this slide even after this presentation because of the time, but I'm trying so hard so that you can really get the picture. Now, tying it back to the SDG, tying it back to this cohort, why am I here? Why is transformational leadership ideal for SDG implementation? Like, what makes a difference? What makes it special? SDGs are interconnected and multifaceted. You know, I said it earlier. Sometimes you might be working in a sphere. I was working in gender equality sphere organization, like an organization focused on gender equality. I was working in that sphere before, but I moved to another sphere, looking at equality in another perspective, which is now in health. I don't know if you're getting the picture now. SDGs are interconnected and multifaceted. It needs innovative leaders who can see the big picture and require solutions. The 2030 is just 5 years to come. It requires sustained effort, and that's why we are trying to build our skills that leadership is a big deal. Leadership is a big deal. Leadership is a big deal. And the result you have is also influenced by your leadership skill. It's influenced by your leadership style. It's influenced by the things you do or do not do. And long-term commitments are needed. I also want to engage us all. No single person can achieve the SDGs alone. No single person. No, you can't. You cannot. SDG is broad. I'm sure you've the courses that you've learned, you've gone through that and broaden your mind on the SDG goals. It is broad, and in a way, it looks like we are like a pin in an haystack. So that's why we need to do this together, and it is needed to empower communities to reinforce change. Right? We're able to. It is needed to empower communities and require self-reinforcing change. That self-reinforcing change means that you need to lead yourself. It's not all the time. If you're going to be a transformational leader, it's not all the time people will tell you things to do. You must lead yourself. You must take initiatives. You must be able to make decisions by yourself and stand by it such that you walk tall and say, yes, I make this decision. Right? Sorry, I'm really speaking very fast. I need to respect our time as well. My slide is not moving. Now that we know that, okay, yes, I just brought this to say, okay, sometimes we talk and we don't put a face to what we are looking at. Now, this woman, you can see her. If you're familiar with Okonjo Iweala, she even did a gele like that. And I love that about that. That's just to digress. But look at what she has done. She worked on SDG 5 and 16, and she had a vision. She envisioned women leading peace efforts in war-torn Liberia. She's a Liberian. She inspired, even when there was war, she said no. She wants women to live in peace, and she inspired and mobilized women across ethnic and religious divisions. Her innovative approach included creative protest methods like sex strikes and public shaming of leaders. She developed women's leadership capacity nationwide, empowering a generation of female activists. Now, as we're reading about what she has done in summary, it seems easy. Excuse me. It seems easy, but it's not easy. But we need to know that a lot went into this. So this is number one example. Another example is Williams. I personally had to look into his story, and I'm like, wow, this is somebody who must have read, who brought about things in books into reality. You know, some of us, we did physics and he brought it into reality. He was able to bring electricity into his community. He had a vision. You know, sometimes your vision must be it must be greater than you, and you be like, can this be achievable? If your vision is not like that, yeah, you might need to step up. His story as the boy who harnessed the wind inspired millions worldwide. He innovatively built a functional windmill using only scrap materials and library books. He now develops others by educating communities about renewable energy and solutions. Something to note here is just a boy who did something great. Now, one person has multiplied his skill, like an individual skill is multiplied across board. And I believe that's one of the things we are doing here right now. Somebody went through this program, the SDG and the at the UN level, and said, okay, let's bring this thing back home. And that is why you are able to be a part of this cohort. So this is another example. Another example is Kailash. He says he envisioned a world completely free from child labor. To some people, they will be like, it's not possible. But do you know the possibility is one person per time? One person per time, one person per time, one person per time. So do not limit your influence to the situation around you. You can make a difference with one person, and that one person can multiply per time. Trust me, I'm able to speak on this leadership because I also went through a leadership training. When they trained us, it was just basic. I learned it and I didn't know when it was going to be useful. But now look at me. I am sharing what I have learned at that one time. Look at the ripple effect. So that is something I also want to ingrain in you. Don't think that your impact is not felt. One person per time, you can make that vision come to reality. Now, what are the next steps for you? Okay, you've known that, okay, if I want to be a transformational leader, I need to be able to challenge the status quo. I need to be able to be a leader that is worthy of emulation. I need to be that kind of leader. What is your role? Right now, as you're listening, reflect on your current leadership style and identify areas for growth. Okay, personally, I used to be an autocratic leader. I need to come out straight. Now, what do I mean by that? Because you remember I said, because of where we are growing up from, where we come from, we tend to we tend to project where we are coming from. So I was told to do this is how to do this. But with time and exposure, I realized that autocratic leadership doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, and I am not able to achieve so much. Then I went into democratic style of leadership. Remember, I said that one time at one point or the other, you've exhibited a kind of leadership. Participation. For participation, it was frustrating for me because I'm like, we need to make decision in time. You guys are you're delaying, and I don't want to be delayed when it comes to making decisions. You know, with time, I had to come to transformational leadership. I'm there now, and I'm using transformational leadership and situational leadership because I've come to understand that different scenarios requires different kind of leadership. But one thing is, whoever I told myself that my kind of vision as an individual, not even for the SDGs now, is that I want people to, anybody that comes close to me must have one thing that they aspire to do for themselves just because they've seen me do things, they've seen me work. And I'm happy to share today that for every place I've worked, there's usually one person at least to say, thank you for these things you taught me back then. I am using them now. So look back into yourself as you listen, reflect on your current leadership style, and identify areas for growth. Choose an SDG area that resonates with you and craft your vision. Now, this place, I want to encourage us all that we all cannot walk in the same space. Walk somewhere that resonates with you so that you can thrive. If you do not really have interest in climate, if you do not have interest in climate, oh my word, if you do not have interest in climate or in gender equality, but you have interest on life on land, please go into that division, go into that SDG and thrive. So the SDG, remember, it's interconnected, but stay where you can thrive so that your vision can come to reality and you're not being dragged. And develop the 4 I's through practice and feedback. When you're working, remember, when I was growing in capacity, people actually told me that I am authoritative. And that was when I got that feedback and I said, okay, I would do things better, I would be better, and I would make sure that I change for the better so that I can accommodate others. And today I have a different feedback. So wherever you are as a leader, always be open to feedbacks so that people can tell you that you're doing this right or you need to be better with this. Then connect with like-minded individuals and organizations. For this, yes, we need to build partnership. You cannot do it alone. And I believe that as much as there are so many cohorts, remember I said that going into an SDG that you can thrive, you need to build networks. You need to find people interested in what you're doing so that you can rub minds together, so that you can have a vision together and say, this is where we want to focus on, and we're able to focus on this, and create your specific measurable steps toward your vision. Excuse me. Action planning, yes, just like I said, make sure that you plan. Then of course when you implement, you have an expected outcome and you are able to have a successful a vision. You're able to have a vision come into reality. So this is very important. These are your next steps. If you don't know right now, put this points down and say, okay, where am I and where do I want to be? Where do I want to see myself regarding the SDGs? And in conclusion, transformational leadership is not about position or title. I emphasized that at the beginning. It is about impact and influence. You all have the power to challenge existing paradigms. You all have the power to inspire others to join your cause. You have the power to develop innovative solutions to global challenges, and you have the power to create lasting change that advances the SDGs. Remember what I said, even if you're a business owner, one way or the other, you're contributing to the SDGs. Your leadership journey starts now. What change will you champion? Naturally, my next slide is a thank you, but I want to sum it up. Initially, I had a challenge with navigating, coming on board. That was my first challenge, right? But I tried as much as possible to compose myself and also say, regardless, I am going to be able to deliver. I was told that I have this number of minutes. I tried as much as possible to be flexible. But even though I am taking the responsibility of not keeping to exact 30 minutes, but I am taking responsibility to say, no, what is worth doing is worth doing well. And on this note, I want you to know that if you're going to be a transformational leader, you need to be able to say, I am ready to make a change. And that change starts with you. Thank you very much. I apologize for taking your time, but thank you for listening. Thank you. If you have questions, please, I leave it to the moderator.
Okay, thank you very much, Ma, for the presentation. Thank you for your time. Thank you. It was really, really, really impactful. I learned a lot, and I really want to say thank you, Ma. I really appreciate you. Ma. Okay, so please, if you have, we're just going to take one question because we are behind time. So just one question. So if you have a question, just put it in the chat box so that we can just take it. Okay, I'm waiting for the question. Okay, so since you can't say any question for now, it's all appreciation. You're very, very grateful, Ma. Thank you for your time, your effort, the time you took to prepare. Okay, we have one question, Ma. Okay, so this is for Akintola Oluwatoyin. How can we start? The question is, how can we start implementing the vision we have for SDG? Can you hear me, Ma?
Yes. How can we start implementing the vision we have for SDG? Right?
Yes, madam.
I get that. Yes. Okay, thank you. That means this particular person asking the question already has a vision. You can start by having a team. Remember, I said it starts with one person, and for that one person, it multiplies to the next person. How about you share your team, your idea, your vision with someone of like minds? Then you start in your community. Let me tell you something. Starting this SDG advocacy, it starts from your friend. It starts from the people you have influence over. It could be in your school. It could be in your church. It could be amongst your friends. It could even be in your workplace. So when you talk about implementation, sometimes we think about a big project, but it's not always about a big project. It starts small. You've seen a problem, you have a vision. I look forward to seeing a world where people have access to essential healthcare. Let's say that's my vision. And for that to happen, I look at those who are already in that field. What are they doing? Oh, I have this interest. Remember, I said you have to also be a part of a team. If you're not part of a team, it's time to start something, even if it's one person. Connect, collaborate, because you can't do it alone. But if it is still in the purview of just you alone, you can start with one person. It's never too late, and your implementation is never too small. Never too small. Just a little story, just for you to get the idea. I once participated in an advocacy for gender equality rights, whereby we want there are some people in Nigeria that could not transfer their leadership, that could not transfer their nationality rights to their spouse. And I was part of the global team. We're supposed to step that down. I didn't know how to start. And guess what I did? Because I was part of that cohort, I was able to reach out to the convener and I said, okay, you know what? I have this challenge. How can I go about it? And I got some information on how to go about it. And I went on my own personal research. And due to connections, because you can't do it alone, I was able to help that person and they were able to solve that problem internationally. So it can be one person, but I want you to know that you can't do it alone. Connect and be a part of a team so that it's easier for your implementation. I don't know if I'm able to answer you, but I try as much as possible to make it practicable, not just theory. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you, Ma. I want to say a very big thank you for sharing your expertise and the insight you shared with us today. And then thank you for your time, the time you used to prepare and deliver such a valuable section. So I want to say thank you very much, Ma. Really
Thank you too.
enjoyed Ma. Okay, so
Right.
the next thing So next the next thing we have is the announcement. So I'd like to welcome Mr. Emmanuel to please take the announcement. Okay.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I don't know if everyone can hear me. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Okay, this is announcement time, and this is a time to reflect on our actions and decide what change needs to be made. So let's listen to this following announcement. As we continue through this transformative journey together, please let's take note of this following guideline. That's one, announcement is compulsory. Everyone must join all masterclass section, and an attendance link will be shared every session and it must be filled. Please note that the link will close immediately after each section. So for today's section, the link will be opened will be open for 5 minutes after this section, and after 5 minutes it is closed. To active participation, we want every participant to engage during the master's class. Your contribution matters. Feel free to ask questions, and we're going to pick up the questions when you put it on your chat box. We also want you to always check your WhatsApp regularly for important updates, instructions, and announcements. We also want every participant to know that you are allowed in one official group. So if you're on multiple groups or an extra group, you need to exit yourself and leave yourself on one. We also want you to know that we are doing tracking, and this tracking is continuous. Our team will be monitoring participation closely. I want you to know that your commitment to this program makes it very impactful. Let's give in our best. I will leave you with these quotes. The difference between stumbling blocks and stepping stone is how you use them. Thank you for listening, and I want you to enjoy the rest of the weekend. Thank you. Over to you, Chinara.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Okay, so please, I want to make this announcement. If you're on the YouTube, please go to the comment section. The attendance and the evaluation link has been shared. So go to the YouTube comment section and find it. And like Mr. Emmanuel have said, the form will be closed 5 minutes after. So please, I'm begging everyone, please look for the attendance now and copy the link so that you can be able to take the attendance. Please do not go to the DM of the group chat admin asking them for the attendance. We have the attendance now on the comment section. Please just go there and find the attendance. Thank you. Okay, so we've come to the end of today's masterclass section. I want to say thank you to everyone for your active participation and engagement. Thank you to the project team and our esteemed speakers, Adedoyin Jayesimi and Tomisin Abiola. Thank you very much for your presentation, for the time you put in preparing and delivering a very, very important and insightful section. Okay, so I want to also encourage us to always participate, and then to also remind each and every one of us to always go to your email, check your email inbox on a daily basis, because we'll be communicating with you via your email and in the group chat. So some person will still, after sending email, they will still comment, be asking, what are we going to do? So please stay tuned on the group chat, and then in your email, information will be passed via these two platforms. Please do not disturb anybody about information. And I want to say thank you, everyone. And then see you next week, same time on Friday, 10 p.m. Sorry, 10 a.m. on Friday for our next masterclass. And I really appreciate if you join us again because your attendance counts. So thank you very much and do have a great day.